welcome to Varsity Blue. Alex Prasad alongside two new faces, Adam Brewster, David Nows, the full producer team here live talking about the biggest Michigan football win, at least since last year's Notre Dame game.
It was a huge win. The team showed that they were not as bad as people thought they were going to be.
That's where we are at Michigan football. Big win. We're not as bad as we thought.
We weren't. We weren't as bad as people thought.
And I think the win also made everybody not optimistic, but cautiously optimistic, where I think there was a lot of fear before.
Yeah, I don't think unbridled optimism, well, at least for my class, being a senior this year, exists anymore regarding Michigan sports.
Well, we all remember last year. We started 4-0 last year, and that came back and hurt us.
And some of us remember Nick Sheridan and Stephen Threed as well. So
I was alive for that.
I
was alive. I was alive.
Some of us witnessed that and covered it extensively. Anyhow, light years ahead, and with a quarterback that is now running, it appears at least, at light speed. So take a look for yourself. Let's take a look at the highlights. A very exciting day at Michigan Stadium, of course. A B-52 World War II relic right there. Rededication to Michigan Stadium now holds 109,901, 113,90 in attendance.
Yep.
Fireworks, which scared the bejesus out of me, because they were right next to me. And then, of course, the best fireworks of the whole day, probably. Brock Mueller walking. You heard the story about the Christmas Eve crash. He was supposed to be paralyzed and never walked again. But lots of questions going into this game, guys. And, of course, one of the biggest was whether or not this defense could stop what's supposed to be a pretty good UConn offense, especially the ground game. But first drive of the game, UConn won the toss, elected to receive, and promptly went 3 and out. Michigan's defense jacked up, ready to go, and a great sign for Michigan fans. And there, Craig Rowe a little pressure, Jonas Mouton, he approves. And of course, Denard Robinson getting the start, the other big question heading into this game. 16 yards right there, or 16 yards right here, I'm sorry, to Kevin Koger. He threw the ball. And then Denard up the middle right here, and then we're going to see another, Smurf, many of them on Michigan football's team now. Vince Smith capping off a 14-play, 96-yard drive, and David, many good signs out of that first possession for Michigan.
Well, it all starts with the offensive line. You see the huge holes that they create for Denard Robinson, Vincent Smith, Michael Shaw. And it really helps out when you have guys who have that type of speed and agility. They don't need that big of a hole, but when they get it created by the offensive line, all of a sudden they can do some special things, and that first drive showed that.
Mike Shaw with great blocking downfield, too. I mean, you saw anytime Denard keeps the ball, the running back has to pick up a linebacker.
And they almost always did on this drive.
Right.
Same with the wide receivers downfield, too, doing a good job on those long runs, making sure that the running backs had room.
And Adam, Denard Robinson, that was a difficult throw right there, at least difficult as compared to Denard Robinson 2009.
Denard Robinson 2009 could not throw a football very well, but here you see the naked bootleg finds Kevin Koger, and that's almost an unstoppable play, Alex. It's easy for Kevin Koger to use that huge athletic frame he has to get open, but now that Denard can throw, it can be something that is a 16-yard pass we saw there, or like an 80-yard touchdown.
And Connecticut didn't have many answers all day. Here's Jared Toteman with a big 20-yard run right there, and Martell Webb channeling some Terrence Taylor, circa 2008 right there, blocking that field goal, so Connecticut can't get on the board. Still 7-0. Here's Denard getting it out to Mike Shaw right there for a 16-yard gain. He's another really fast guy. And of course, Denard keeping it for himself. He kept it 29 times, this one for 32 yards and a touchdown. And David, how can you stop that?
I don't really think he can, especially with the way he looked so poised out there. I mean, talking about that naked bootleg earlier, he looked so poised with that throw, and now when he can run like this too, you don't know what Denard Robinson's going to do, and if he's calm enough and has the composure, it's pretty tough to stop.
And look at that, fans cheering not sarcastically at Michigan Stadium. It's a beautiful day again in Ann Arbor, and the Michigan defense showing up pretty well as well. Right there, James Rogers looking like a competent cornerback all over that. So Denard gets the ball back, 3rd and 6, hits Tay Odoms. Tay Odoms and Terrence Robinson on the same side of the field is just mind-boggling. 2 5'5" guys. And of course here, Mike Shaw powering his way into the end zone. We didn't see that enough last year from him, but this year he is pumped up and ready to go. Almost got a personal foul for us. That's a celebration on that. But UConn made a field goal. They would make this a game and held Michigan to a 3 and out right there. That's Will Hagerup, the new punter for Michigan, 51-yarders right there. And then UConn, as time running out in the second half, looking pretty good. Zach Frazier finding his man 20 yards right there. That was Michael Smith. And then Jared Toteman gets it close, and then a really quick snap there on 4th and 1 gives UConn a touchdown. So it's 21-10 at the half. And here is the drive that used to haunt Michigan's defense, and now Michigan is haunting others' defense with. That's 2 straight third down completions for Denard. 3 straight third down completions for Denard. Most maddening right there, a 3-yard run on 3rd and 1. And Denard again looking, makes a decision to run, tuck it. Another third down conversion. Michigan converted 5 on that drive, would have to settle for only a field goal though, 24-10. And here's where the game really turned. There's Frazier with a shovel pass to Toadman, and then they're finding Michael Smith again. Jordan Kovac's a little late. And then DJ Shoemates, JT Floyd puts his helmet on the ball, fumble. That could have made it 24-17. Instead, it remains 24-10. Michigan right here, Vince Smith with the screen. That is what the final score would be, and as you can hear right now, Denard believes it's great, once again, to be a Michigan Wolverine.
It's always great to be a Michigan Wolverine now, but this win was really something special. The offense looked good, the blocking looked great, and the defense, while there are some question marks for sure, they didn't look that bad.
They didn't look that bad. It's a resounding success.
They certainly didn't look that bad, and especially the way the front 6 played. That offers a lot of optimism for Michigan fans, I think, because if the front 6 can get pressure on the quarterback, then that secondary isn't as big of a concern all of a sudden.
That ESPN hype machine really built up Connecticut to be like the best favorite in the Big East of all time. Take a look, 343 total yards for Connecticut. That does not usually equal 10 points. Obviously, the goal line fumble was one reason for that. But Zach Frazier, 18 for 37, 205 yards, no touchdowns, interceptions, no sacks in the game either. But of course, Denard Robinson with nearly 400 yards of offense by himself. And you see Vince Smith, Mike Shaw combining for 110 yards. So many things to talk about. But of course, the thing that everyone's talking about, Adam, is Denard Robinson's play in that first game.
And Denard Robinson played drastically different from what we saw last season. Last season, we saw a guy who, whenever he went out there, you knew he was going to run the football. Or if he was going to throw it, odds are it was going to be for an interception. But he looked well. They had him doing a lot of short dink and dunk passes, which, if that's what it's going to take, I'm okay with that.
And most rushing yards for a quarterback in Michigan history, and most yards from scrimmage, right? Total yards, so not counting return yards. For a quarterback in Michigan history, and second highest completion percentage of a quarterback in a single game.
I think it really shows that Denard Robinson can be very effective in this ball control offense that Rich Rodriguez has. And as long as he doesn't have to throw those 30-yard bombs, and as long as Michigan doesn't get behind in a game or have to run a 2-minute offense, Denard Robinson's going to be a very effective quarterback. He's able to run the ball, he's very poised, and he's very accurate when it comes to those short passes. So I think you see Denard Robinson is a big weapon for Michigan out of the backfield.
And of course, we talked about a lot now, Denard's transformation between 2009 2010, but also the offensive line looked really good Saturday. It is just one game, but when we went to Big Ten Media Days, we talked to Steve Schilling about that goal line stand against Illinois, and it looks like he made good on his promise. Take a look.
That's really tough. That was definitely one of, if not the lowest moment for us as an offensive line last year and during the season. So it's tough when you're right there. As an offensive line, you're expected to get it in the end zone. You run 4 running plays right at the end zone, you can't get it in, and it's embarrassing. And it's something that we tried to use as motivation for the second half of the season, and I'm sure it will come up as motivation for this season as well. But credit to Illinois, they played tough that game and they were tough on the goal line. So it's definitely something that we can use going forward.
Of course, the promise implicit there that it's not going to happen again, and certainly after this game, you never worried, Adam, about Michigan eking out that 1 yard on third down.
No, you didn't. They converted it over half of the third downs that they were faced with. They did a great job. That one drive you pointed out, 7 third downs. And it's something that was an embarrassment, and I'm glad to see the offensive line taking responsibility for that.
And with offensive line blocking so well, David, we saw time of possession, a stat that's of dubious worth. But at the same time, Michigan outpossessed UConn by a huge margin here, and with a defense we expect to struggle at some points down the road. Keeping the other team's offense off the field is a great thing.